ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dirty birds of all ages, wherever you may be in the world, whatever time you may be tuning in. Welcome back to Thrill HQ. This is Wad-l Music, Sports and Media, and this is Ep.2 of The Real Spill with Will the Thrill. Tonight we're keeping it on point to my usual content, so that will involve some NFL football for you, specifically the Atlanta Falcons, my Dirty Birds, the team I love so much. Despite all the heartache they may cause me at times, I'm a Dirty Bird diehard, so win, lose or draw, um, that's just how it is. So yeah, as I say, it's going to take a little bit of time to get some people into the building, some eyes on me tonight because I'm doing tonight a double header for you. So I'll be doing not just some football, but I'll also be going into some combat sports a little later on, some sports entertainment as well. So got quite a packed night for you all to enjoy tonight. And as I say, I'll be starting it off with some football, and I will be your GM, ladies and gentlemen. So here tonight for Ep.2 of The Real Spill. My intentions are I'm going to show you my first two mock drafts that I have done. So there is one caveat, but first off, before I do any of that, as I say, we're going to be breaking down the 2026 draft coming up in Pittsburgh. I will be using two sources for this. So NFL Draft Buzz, I'm going to be using for all of the breakdowns, player reviews, some of the things like that I'm going to be doing tonight. And I'm also going to shout out Pro Football and Sports Network, which is where I've been doing my seven rounders there as well. So shout out to those guys as well. But as I say, tonight's going to just be about who my guys are, who I've got my eyes on, and so on and so forth. There is a caveat, as I say. So when I did my first one, the slight issue or oversight on my part was that I didn't see the filter at the bottom. So I went through only using the players as ranked by the PFSN, not the consensus rank. So that's been rectified now for my second one. So just bear that in mind when you do tell me later on what you think. Also, in addition to that, what we're going to do is we're going to try and, as I say, go into some detail, give you some strengths, some weaknesses, upside, downside, all that good stuff for each of the picks that I've made for both of my prospective classes as well, so that you know exactly where I see these guys fitting and the scheme that the Falcons will be running up, both offensively, defensively, in 2026 as well. Now, with that being said, I know Ian Cunningham is going to be quite aggressive in terms of pursuing the ethos of doubling down, securing a bit more draft capital, maybe trading back in some places. So I've went into both with that ethos as well. And the last thing I would let you guys know to bear in mind before we do kind of get into the nitty gritty is that the first iteration of the mock draft I'll be presenting for you tonight was done previous or prior to the James Pearce Jr. situation. The second one has been done after. So that will have to be obviously taken into account as well, just going forward. So that will be why you'll see the shift in sort of my thinking from the first draft through to the second. So yeah, without further ado, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start talking about that first draft class. So here is my mock draft number one. And as I say, this comes prior to the whole situation with James Pearce Jr. We don't quite know how that's going to work out, but this was done a few weeks previous to that. Some of you who follow me in the chats, on the socials, all that good stuff, you may have already seen this class, but I've not really had the chance to really do my due diligence and show you why I chose each of these guys and why I think they'll be a fit for our squad. So with all that being said, let's dive into it. So here is, ladies and gentlemen, my first mock draft, and I will drop this off at the moment just so you can have a look at that there. So that would be Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle out of Florida State, followed by Zachariah Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia, Lander Barton, the linebacker out of Utah. Devin Moore, the defensive back out of Florida. Then you have someone who I'm very high on as well, Jake Slaughter, the center out of Florida again. Then you have Caleb Elmzor, a linebacker out of TCU. And rounding out the class was a steal, in my opinion, towards the end of the draft there, with Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Now, basically, I'm going to go on and break those guys down one at a time for you, just so that you know what I see in these guys. So we'll start at the top. Darrell Jackson Jr. So what you're getting with this lad, he's been around the block a bit. He's what you call a bit of a journeyman, but he does bring the size that you want. 6'6", 315-pound 3-tech, 5.05 on the 40 there as well. So okay speed considering the size that you're getting. Some pretty big hands as well, 11-inch hands as well, and 34 3/4-inch arms. So plenty of reach there as well. Now, when it comes to this dude, you want to obviously shout out the fact that he has been an All-ACC honourable mention. Obviously, he's also won the Bobby Bowden Leadership Award as well. So that shows that he is not just a leader on the field, but he's a leader off the field as well, and that he can transition from one to the other. Also, he is great strength. As I say, he's put a little bit of weight on from what I hear, so that 315 could be misleading. He's probably going to be more around 330, which is, I know, going to be good news to a lot of you as well. He's a space eater, and he has a lot of sort of short area quickness as well. So that's something to watch out for as well. He's a little bit inconsistent as a tackler, and his pass rush could be a little more varied because he's a little bit limited in that regard. But then, as I say, as the guys outside of him who are more athletic that can get the job done. But no, I feel like this is the guy. If you can't get a Lee Hunter, then this is definitely the guy that I would look to put in the middle of that defensive interior for sure. So with that being said, my next pick for my first class is, I'm sure, a name that will be familiar to a lot of you, Zachariah Branch from the University of Georgia Bulldogs. 5'9", 177-pound junior out of Las Vegas, Nevada. So let's go into that a little bit. So he, as I say, 5'9", 177, 9-inch hands, plenty of speed. That's a 4.35 guy. If you are if that sort of thing concerns you, he put up 20 reps on the bench as well. So with all that being considered, I always viewed him more of, if you're keeping a Darnell Mooney, then he'd be active more in the slot. But given the fact of his 4.35 speed, he can also be used deep down the field as well. He plays similarly to sort of a Rondale Moore, which obviously, rest in peace. The young man's just not long passed away, so it's definitely some lofty cleats to fill. But if there ever is someone who can do it, then it would be Zachariah Branch, coming off a season of 811 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns on 81 receptions there as well for those dogs. So you can't complain at that. Great top end speed, as we say, and he's tougher than his frame suggests. He's not afraid to get in there and mix it up, which I love as well. And that's sort of the ethos that we want to try and put across both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I would feel that if I did have a drawback, he does have arms that are a little bit short, which means that he has to jump a little bit more for some of these balls. But that's something that can be obviously amended or coached up a little bit more at the next level as well. I feel he has a lot of the tools that you want, from sort of that number 2, possibly even the number 3 slot option as well, because we know we are the type of team that has the personnel that has the ability to mix it up as well, not just to be stagnant in that regard. So that's why I've went with Zachariah Branch as well. Now, moving on, my next pick, as I say, Lander Barton, who is a linebacker out of Utah. And let me tell you what I know about this kid. So, as I say, he's a 6'5", 233-pound senior from Cottonwood Heights. He's more of a sort of box guy. 9.5-inch hands, okay speed at 4.55, 233 as I say. So he's that sort of prototypical sort of Utah guy. He's hard nosed. He likes to kind of get back and cover when he can, but his sideline to sideline speed is pretty phenomenal. Decent length as well, and just a great sort of football acumen, football IQ as well. So I feel like with some of the big games that he's played for those Utes, I mean, it could translate well at the next level. As I say, if you do move on from a Caden Ellis, then this is certainly a, a a sound option. I wouldn't say it's an amazing option, but it's definitely a sound one. He's a little bit inconsistent against the run because he's lacking a little bit of that bulk that you would like. He's maybe 15 pounds lighter than you'd maybe like for having him in that position. But with all that being said, it's things that can be worked on at the next level, and again, that's personnel dependent as well. So with that being said, I felt like a third round pick was pretty good value. And that's why I went with Lander Barton there as well from the Utah Utes. So, moving on, what we have then is Devin Moore, who is a cornerback from the University of Florida Gators. Now, when I first started looking into this guy, I felt like what really stood out to me was his frame. He's a big kid, 6'3", around about 200 pounds. As I say, so decent size for a boundary defender. Not the biggest hands, 8 5/8, but again, pretty long arms, pretty decent vertical to compensate for that. 4.5 speed as well. So he's going to be that long guy opposite AJ. Obviously, he can play at a high level. We saw how he played against my Texas Longhorns, which I wasn't too thrilled at the time, but I need to give credit where credit's due. And he also plays with physicality and run support, which is where we lack is defending against the run, and we showed it many times last season as well. Obviously, this is kind of where I'm kind of going with it as well, and add into the fact that he has just incredible ball skills. He's very, very dangerous in terms of going after interceptions and all that good stuff. So he would be a great guy to pair with AJ and also to throw into the mix with obviously Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, if you do keep Jesse Bates as well. So that secondary room is stacking up pretty nicely. And I feel like to that ethos, as I say, to add in a nice long tall boundary corner, especially in like tail end around 3 as this was, it's pretty good going. As I say, he's got a little bit of durability issues, which is something that again we don't necessarily need, given that how banged up we were last season. But I feel like if he can put a few more pounds on his frame, maybe that could be beneficial to him. Or as I say, maybe limiting his usage year one. As a development player, he's certainly got a high ceiling if you want to go down that route as well. So that's why I kind of chose Devin Moore from the Florida Gators. And now moving on is, as I say, someone who I've been high on from the start of the off-season process. And that would be someone that I've kind of got some of the guys in the Alliance doing their diligence on now. And that would be Jake Slaughter, center again from the Florida Gators. And this guy is probably, if I had to go out on a limb, I would say this is my Ryan Nuzul replacement. So this guy is 6'5", 303 pounds. Florida born and raised, hometown Aspar, and a 5.140. He also has a 32.5-inch rep and 32 and 3/8 inch arms, I should say. So he's a big, solid dude. And obviously playing in the SEC, he's familiar with NFL-sized defensive players coming up to obviously contest as he's trying to snap the ball. So he should be day one ready, despite the fact that he's going to be a late an early day 3 pick at this stage, sort of round 4. But yeah, to break down some of his strengths and weaknesses, he's a fantastic pass protector. So it's only going to be good news for Michael Penix Jr. or whoever that bridge quarterback would be. He also generates some real push in the run game as well, so he's fairly versatile in that regard. And adding to the fact that he started every game over the last 2 seasons for the Gators, being the anchor of that offensive line. And he's also a 2-time captain as well. So you add that all into the mix if you want to talk about guys like Darrell Jackson before him who can be a captain or a potential captain or just a leader. You don't have to be a captain to be a leader on and off the field as well. So yeah, I feel like that would be another great option, would be Jake Slaughter. The one thing is that he struggles with some of your quicker 3-techs from what I've seen. He can be a little too aggressive as well, but that's something that we can iron out. We do have Coach Callahan in now, who, as we've said on multiple occasions through the various shows, he is one of the best offensive line coaches that we could have hoped to have brought in this off-season. And as such, as I say, it's going to be good for anyone we bring in prospectively, in addition to young Jack Nelson, who we took in the draft just gone. Because as I say, it was not quite polished, was that diamond in the rough there from Wisconsin. But hopefully that's something that we can add to. And then, as I say, just double down on the IOL as well by bringing in a good solid piece there in Jake Slaughter as well. So moving on to my next pick, I wanted to double down on a couple of positions, and this is where we'll get into at the tail end of this draft, because I felt like that was a couple of positions that were deep, had value. I felt like a couple of guys would fall as well, and this is again a potential replacement for Ellis. He's one of those guys where I feel like bringing him in for competition would certainly be a great option, and obviously he has the numbers to back up being a Mike. It's only 4 sacks, which isn't incredible, but 130 tackles, 60 of which were solo. He's 6'2", 234, runs a 4.47 with a 40-inch vert. So yeah, pretty impressive numbers there again. Especially for what is a late round 4 guy. Again, great sideline to sideline. He's a great blitzer as well because he goes after the runner as well. So he's real authority and real discipline. He goes after it cleanly, but he hits hard. And that's something that, again, we can throw into the mix, especially if we're going to be changing the look of our defensive front this season, given what's happened with James Pearce as well. The things that I would say are drawbacks in regards to Caleb here. He's a little bit undersized. So again, 235 pounds, right in that mix. So potentially he's going to be in trouble if you've got pulling guards and things of that nature. But he's quick enough to obviously to get around that. And what I would also say is that he's not, again, the most consistent against the run, which is one drawback that I would say is a big one when you're looking at trying to evolve what we've already built here on this Ulbrich defense. But as I say, when you're talking about round 4, I feel like he has tremendous upside as well. So that's kind of why I lean towards this guy. I've been hot on him for a while as well. As I say, that 4.47 time kind of sold it for me, along with the 130 tackles. He's always in or around the box trying to get it done, and that's the one thing that you've got to appreciate as a defensive coordinator. So I wanted to give this team options as well. It's one of the things that I felt was a great sort of ethos to have. We're in a great position with a lot of the talent that we have, but we lack depth, and so I've tried to address a lot of the positions of need as it pertains to that. And that's why I felt like linebacker was an interesting one, and that's why I've given you now 2 options in this class as well. And to finish out this first iteration, I have went and done another double dip, this time at wide receiver. So this one was a steal for me. I was surprised that in this iteration he had fallen quite so far down. but Malachi Fields from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, you want to talk about another big body receiver. This kid is 6'4", 218 pounds, a senior out of Charlottesville, Virginia. And he has, again, 9-inch hands. You would expect slightly bigger for a guy as tall as he is, but it's not a massive issue because the guy also posts a 38-inch vertical as well, and has decent speed at 4.61. But you wouldn't expect a guy that big to be a speed demon anyway. But I mean, you pair him, as I say, opposite a Drake London, you are going to give offenses some problems. And then add into that mix the fact that we have retained Kyle Pitts on the franchise tag. Yeah, you start to really start to play Madden in your head a little bit and scheme up things for this offense to do. Now, I could go on about Malachi Fields all night as well. So he started out as a quarterback, so he understands how an offense works from that perspective as well. Just all ACC recognition throughout, obviously, his college tenure. And on a ground-heavy attack, he still managed to put up the numbers. 630 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns on 36 catches. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you remember the style of offense that Notre Dame play, and that would kind of explain everything you need to know. His contested catch ability, I should say, is, if anything, even better than Drake's. I feel like this guy is crazy at holding on to the football. He's just huge. He has fantastic, reliable hands as well. So, yeah, it's something that in round 6 I was not going to think twice about as well. Just a big, tough, relatively fast guy that can get down there, can keep the ball in his hands, keep possession on our side of the ball, and just keep things moving. So with all that being said, even though he doesn't have the most well-developed route tree necessarily, even though he's not the best guy short or underneath, we would still have a Darnell Mooney who we could operate as a 3, assuming we hold on to him. You see where I'm going. So there are ways that you can scheme with the receiver who has the drawbacks that he does. And so that kind of rounds out my first class. And so that was me kind of in summation of that, trying to, as I say, if we move on from Ellis, we need the help at linebacker. We need to surround Diablo, Walker with these guys, Dorless as well. The guys that are getting the attention on the front 7. We need to bring in some athletes that are going to allow them to not face quite so many double teams. And let's hope that we can continue to increase the sack numbers. I also thought that it was quite important to get that guy off opposite AJ, which is something that, again, I will show that I've done in the second class, which I'll go on to speak about in just a few minutes. But for me, the only caveats and players that I kind of missed out here, I missed out on KC Concepcion, who was still there in round 2. However, I feel like I did a lot better bringing in the guys that I did. For the value that we had. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt going into this one. And you can let me know in the comments section or in the chat below how you feel about that first class as well. But before we kind of start to surmise it all in more detail, what I'll do is I'll start to go into my second class. So a few bits about this is this was done, as I say, after the James Pearce Jr. situation. So this is now obviously taking into account the fact that we may possibly be looking at edge rusher, which is something that, as I've said on the Scottish Falcons show with Des, that it's not something that any of us particularly thought we'd have to do come this off season. But yeah, as I say, I'm looking at everyone for the scout reports and things anyway. So I'm always happy to do my due diligence in that regard. And as such, I present to you this class. And this is my second attempt. And as I say, I have tried to mix it up again, embody what Ian Cunningham's probably going to go for, which is to try and get as many guys in as I can. Double down on depth as well. Again, I have made 2 picks at linebacker, which I will explain as we go on as well. So let's just get into it then. So I started off there with Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker out of Texas, and followed on with, as I say, it's same in-state but different school. That would be Romello Height, the edge out of Texas Tech. As I said, I've done a bit of wheeling and dealing, so I managed to get back in and get Julian Neal, the cornerback out of Arkansas. And then, as I say, something that I'll go into a little bit is something that I've been sort of cooking up in the background a little bit. So as I say, I went on and took Bryce Lance after that, the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. Chris McClellan followed, the defensive tackle out of Missouri. I then took Tristan Lee, offensive tackle from Clemson, and rounded out the class with Jack Kelly, linebacker from BYU. So, with all that being said, let's attempt to kind of justify these for you. So let's start with Anthony Hill. So I don't really have to tell you much that hasn't already been said. 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 70 total tackles, 4.51 40 at 6'2" and 238 pounds. So decent sort of size. If you're talking about that sort of versatile, again, multi-purpose sort of linebacker, that's what you're getting. And I'll take any chance to throw up a set of these. So hook 'em horns, you already know. But I'm just seeing the first comment of the night here. So shout out to Xavier Lippman. How you doing, brother? Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. Sorry about that. I do apologise. The phone's not wanting to play ball. But ask anyone, and as an Atlanta fan, you can never have nice things. But we will get through it. We will persevere. The internet seems to be behaving. Touch wood. Harry Wood's the best. So again, as I was saying, thank you, Xavier, for your kind words. I'm hoping that I'll give you another one to think about. But yeah, as I say, just I like to kind of mix it up and try to do as much as I can to just keep everyone guessing a little bit and make sure that everyone's doing their due diligence on everyone. So yeah, with that being said, this is the post JPJ one, starting with Anthony Hill, who I kind of broke down a little bit there for you. So some of his strengths and weaknesses, as I say, he is basically one of those guys who's going to change your defense. He wasted no time proving to Steve Sarkisian that he was ready to go. As I say, he finished 2024 season with 66 tackles, 5 sacks across 14 games as well. When we upset Bama on the road, this guy was basically a big caveat why as well. So again, he's used to playing to a high role as well. So yeah, like everything that you want from him. He can intercept the ball, he can chase and tackle, he can get after the QB. Everything that you want from a linebacker, he will bring. Exceptionally fast trigger as well. Ability to perform in the clutch. He can fulfill coverage responsibilities quite extensively as well. So as I say, he's sort of a put him in, let him go sort of player, which I feel like you pair him with Jalen Walker and you could have something really, really interesting there, especially if he's coming off the edge. But as I say, you can mix it up. He can be a Mike, he can be a Sam. So as I say, it really depends on what you want. If I wanted to really give you some drawbacks, I would say that he's again very aggressive in his reads. He's going after he's going after his man, so to speak. He's not the best at play action in that regard because he does tend to over pursue a little bit. But again, that's something that coaching can get out. Again, it does lead to concern given Ulbricht's tendency to all-out blitz. That could come back to cost us. But as I say, with the amount of upside that you get, Anthony Hill Jr. In round 2, I felt like it had to be done. So that was my pick to start off this one. And then, as I say, this second class was done after the James Pearce Jr. situation. So I felt like, oh dear, do we go with an edge here? And that's what I decided to do. So as I say, I stayed within the great state of Texas, and I went with Romello Height, the defensive end out of Texas Tech. Now, this guy is not going to be unfamiliar to you. A Dublin, Georgia boy. And to break down some of his vitals for you, 6'3", so great length, 239 pounds, 32 and a quarter inch arms, and a 39-inch vert, so he can get up there, and a 4.64 on the 40, so pretty exceptional speed as well. When you're talking about Romello Height, as I say, he enrolled at Auburn back in 2020, so played a little bit as a true freshman, which you love to hear. But as I say, he's bounced around a bit. He was a former USC Trojan as well before coming to Lubbock. But he's finished with 38 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. He's been named first team All Big 12. He's had a spot on the Sports Illustrated mid-season All-American team. So yeah, just absolutely a guy who brings the credentials as well. Just an explosive first step. He can really just get after it. He can kick in or kick out very, very nicely. He has a fantastic ghost move as well. Like, you don't know he's there till he's there sometimes, and that's, again, just pressure. Pursuit motor is fantastic. He's another whistle-to-whistle guy, and just has a phenomenal pass rush grade. So if you want to talk about a pure edge replacement for James Pearce Jr., this is the situation or the ethos that I tried to address with this pick. And I felt like with who was available at the time, Romello Height was the guy to go for. So that was my pick on that one. And I shout out to the First Lady of AFN, Maggie T. How you doing? Good to see you on the show. So yeah, you've not missed much. Yeah, the first class is gone, but that's the one that was on the group chat, so you may well have seen it already. I'm just breaking down my picks now from my second one. So this is after now the James Pearce Jr. situation. So a whole new bag of fish to fry, I should say. And yeah, as I say, one thing that I wanted to keep as a constant between the two shows was I definitely wanted to address cornerback 2. So what I did to do that was I went to Arkansas, to the Razorbacks, and I picked up Julian Neal. Now, again, the reasons for this are multifaceted. The pass defended number is 10 on the season. 55 tackles, so he can come down into the box, couple of interceptions into the mix as well. 4.49 40 at 6'2" and 203 pounds. So again, just a nice long boundary corner. He had a 40-inch vert as well, so he can get up there. He can cover some of those bigger body guys as well. And that seems to be a trend in the league recently, is a lot of these receivers are huge. Used to be in my day that a 6-foot receiver would be a decent size, but now I'm one of the small guys. But now you just have to be faster and make sure you don't get caught. That's the real secret. But with that being said, as I say, to break down some of the bio and some of the strengths and weaknesses for you, the 2025 campaign at Arkansas, Neal has been phenomenal. Started all 12 games, as I say, 10 pass breakups with 55 tackles, 2 picks. He played phenomenally with an 11 tackle, 2 pass breakup, 1 pick game against Arkansas State, I think it was. So he's had just a great showing this season. He's a great run defender as well, which is somewhere we need to improve. So again, if the defensive backs have to come down and make those tackles, then I'm not mad at that if we can bring in someone who does fit that skill set as well. So with that being said, his missed tackle rate has also dropped quite dramatically this last season gone. And as I say, he can use his length to get through lanes, to get after the ball as well. So all good things that you like to hear from that guy who's going to be sort of setting your edge on outside runs and things like that if they do manage to get outside of the end there. So when it comes to weaknesses in regards to Julian Neal, what I would say is that he's not the fastest when it comes to long speed. He's not going to be a guy who is going to turn and run with guys deep downfield. So he's not going to be the best against some of your faster vertical threats. And his hips are a little bit stiff in transitions. He could be a little bit smoother. But again, as I say, he's coming into a system where, as I say, he's going to have AJ Terrell to help him out. He's going to have Jesse Bates captain in that secondary helping him out as well. And there's enough weapons sort of strewn around, so to speak, that secondary to give him that help as well, especially as he's developing. And I feel like in terms of his upside, there is a lot to be happy about and to be excited about when it comes to Julian Neal. So that's why I've made the pick and brought him in. And now this is something that, as I say, I've been cooking up in the back a little bit. So you can love me, you can hate me, but damn it, you will respect me. Because with my next pick, I decided to grab Bryce Lance, the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. And if that surname is familiar to you, there is a reason why. He is the younger brother of current Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Trey Lance. And as such, I'm sure you can see where I'm kind of going with this. So with him being an impending free agent, or I should say kind of possible trade piece, I feel like it's something that we could maybe look to do, because you want to talk about brotherhood, which is something we love so much in the city of Atlanta. How about getting a pair of literal brothers, one via free agency and one via the draft? And I mean, 1,000-yard receiver to boot. So Bryce Lance's year just gone, I should say. I apologise. Would be 51 catches for 1,079 yards, 21.2 yards per catch average, and 8 receiving touchdowns on the season. Yes, he's only ranked number 18 among wide receivers in this class, but you add into the fact that he has a 4.34 40 and a 41.5. Yes, you can run that back and play it again. 41.5-inch vertical at 6'3". So he's going to be able to get airborne. To be quite honest about it, he has elite athletic potential. As I say, a 99 athleticism score, 998 relative athletic score. So just a superlative athlete. His contested catch rate of 62% is something that I really noticed as well. He likes to attack 50-50 balls and really get after it. So he's similar in play style to what AJ will bring you. And he also plays similar to a player I really, really like, which is, if you know, Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. Very, very similar in that regard as well. So when you're talking about Bryce Lance, as I say, he returned for his senior season and became the first wide receiver in Bison history to string together in two consecutive 1,000-yard campaigns. So it's history making. And he's also been named the CSC Academic All-American First Team. So the kid's smart, and not just in a book sense, but he's also got a great head for the game as well. So you add into that a phenomenal combine, and really, as I say, yes, he's only had 2 productive seasons, but his upside is immense. So with me stacking, as you will see, so heavily on the defensive side of the ball in this class, I did want to still bring in a wide receiver 2/3. Again, depending on what we do with the Darnell Mooney situation, which is why I thought, why not kind of throw that into the mix, because I've been talking about Trey Lance as an option. I don't feel like he's quite done yet. Kid's only 25 years old, so there's some mileage left on those tires yet. I can say that, and that's kind of why I've been able to justify at this point taking a Bryce Lance for an Atlanta Falcons. And now here's one that is an interesting one. Now the defensive tackle comes. And the defensive tackle in question is this dude, Chris McClellan from the University of Missouri Tigers. So, Tulsa, Oklahoma native, again a senior, 5'05", 40 at 6'4" and 313 pounds. So again, he's going to be essentially more of a speed rushing D tackle. He has decent reach, 34-inch arms, 11-inch hands, and a lot of power. He's quite explosive as well. So that is kind of what we want to see in a lot of ways. But he's carrying that 223 pounds well. It's in proportion. He's long enough to where he can get in that box as a get that body in the box, I should say, as a true nose, which is something that as I know a lot of you Falcons fans will be happy about, because you want that big presence in the middle. If we do, it would also allow freedom to Brandon Darlis, to Jalen Walker, to Arnold Ebiketie, if he's still here, to Leonard Floyd if he's still here, and so we can go on. As I say, Braylon Trice as well. He hasn't shown yet what he can do either. So there's a lot to really take from this. Add into that he's quite good in terms of his block recognition. So he's going to know fairly well what he's coming up against when it does come time for the ball to be snapped. So I feel like he's going to be quite intuitive. He's going to be quite easy to coach as well, because he has quite a natural feel for the game. Now, when you're talking about weaknesses, yeah, I would say he's not the best pass rusher. Just obviously owing to the fact that he is a big, strong boy. But with that being said, he has great hand timing, so he can mix it up. He's got all the moves in the trick bag, so to speak. So yeah, he's coming ready to play. For a late 4th rounder, I feel like it was a good time and good value to make this pick. I feel like had I waited much longer to take a defensive tackle, it would have started to perhaps get a little bit, Scottish word of the day, dicey, a little bit tense. So that it was time to bite the bullet, pull the trigger, and get it done. So that's why I waited no longer. And this was the guy that I decided on, Chris McClellan, out of the University of Missouri. And I've got another comment. So shout out to the Celtic brother, Nathan. How are you doing, brother? Good to see you in the channel. As I say, just loving to see the red and blacks as well. That's fantastic. Keep them coming. As I say, I'm just experimenting with a few new things tonight, seeing how y'all like it, how the family kind of accept it, and as I say, I've shared the floor enough. It's time for y'all to kind of put up with me, get the solos out there and all that good stuff. So without further ado, I'll digress. I hate talking about myself. But yeah, as I say, moving on, we decided to go next with a guy who I hadn't done a lot of research into, but having done so in prep for the show today, I think is a great option. Now, this dude is Tristan Lee, offensive tackle in inverted commas out of the University of Clemson Tigers. Now, he is 6'6", 310 pounds, and ran a 5'2". So not the fastest, but let me explain to you why I've made this pick. So, as I say, he's got prototypical NFL size. He's 6'6", he's 310 pounds. He has great athleticism for that frame. So he has great pulling technique, great first punch. He likes to start it, not finish it, which is another sort of ethos that we would like to kind of bring in and see continuing on this offensive line. And what I love about him the most of all is something that I've made a very important point about the team going forward. I like guys who are flexible when it comes to the offensive line, and this is what you get here. Being a lighter guy at 310, he maybe lacks a little bit of that size if you're talking about an interior guy, a guard, but he does have the ability to be flexible between guard and tackle. He's a strong pedigree as well, former 5-star recruit. So he has just an incredibly high ceiling, almost untapped potential, as I would say. Although he does have a tendency to kind of follow his blocks a little bit. There are tells, but again, you can pair him with a Callahan as well, and you can get him sort of mixing it up, seeing where he fits. Maybe he's a guard at the next level, maybe he's a tackle. But again, with that being said, I don't think that taking a player of his caliber, that there is a loss that we can accrue in that scenario. As I say, at 310, his lower body strength could be a little bit better on the edge. That is one thing that I would say. So some of your stronger bull rushers may be able to get the better of him if you are going to use him as a tackle. But as I say, that's something that can be alleviated by just getting a little bit wider in the booty, or as I say, you can always kick him inside as well. So I like having options when it comes to guys, especially on either the defensive or offensive lines. And again, he's one of those do it all guys. So for so late down the board, I felt like it was too much to pass up. And that's why, as I say, shout out to the Clemson Tigers, shout out to Tristan Lee, and that's why I've taken him as my second to last pick. And now we'll get on to my final pick. And again, as I say, I double dipped again when it came to linebackers, and I will explain why. This is one of the guys that I was hurt not to get, and angry not to get in the first iteration of my mock, and that's Jack Kelly out of the Brigham Young Cougars. So this guy is a 6'2", 240-pound linebacker. He posted 10 sacks last season on 55 tackles with 2 forced fumbles. He had a 37-inch vert with a 4.57 40. And when you're talking about what he brings to the table, he's just your prototypical Mike, I would say. He's not got especially high-level skills in any one area, but I feel like he excels enough to be that captain. He has a great sort of chess mind for the game. He can envision the field very, very well, and he's quick to react as well, which is to his credit. Again, at 240 pounds, you can play around a little bit with him. Personally, I would prefer him as that Mike, because I know that Caden Ellis has not Caden Ellis, Divine Diablo rather, has more of a variety of roles that he can fill. But I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about just your mix it up box linebacker who, yeah, he'll read a play and he'll chase it down again. But he, as I say, he's not the fastest guy, he's not the biggest guy, but at round 6, this was halfway through round 6, I was immensely pleased to be able to bring this guy in. And with linebackers being a position where you do see a lot of guys get hurt, and given that you could still address some of the other positions, such as wide receiver, which I realise has been a bit shallower in this second iteration than it was in my first. You can do that through free agency, and that's why I've went with the guys that I have. I've tried to kind of keep it true to what I wanted, what I think the team wants as well. So I got a lot of guys in a lot of different positions who are versatile, good at reading a game, can contribute against the run, can allow our real weapons, and we know who they are, to eat while they develop. And in some cases, just be, as I say, like out and out freaks of nature, like Anthony Hill. You get a player like that, and as I say, he has the potential to completely shake up your defense. So, yeah, with that being said, that is the first and second iterations of my mock drafts. So, I have a lot of things that are going to be coming down the pipeline. I'm going to be doing, you know how it is when draft season rolls around. I'm probably going to be doing about another 5 to 10 drafts before before the actual night doth come. And I hear that there's not a lot of uptake from Atlanta Falcons fans to do an actual draft show on night one, given that we've not got a first round pick. But I'm going to be here just for the party. So yeah, you can all can look forward to that. And if you want to join me for that, then you know what to do. Drop the red and the blacks, and I'll be sure to bring that to you as well. So yeah, I also would like to, in the last sort of 20 minutes or whatever that I'm on for this first part, I'd like to push it back to the fans and see what y'all have to think. I know there's only a few of you watching because I'm still obviously trying to get eyes on the solo channel and all that good stuff. But I appreciate every one of you that have popped in, even for a minute, to listen, to check it out tonight, because it really means so much. And with that, as I say, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can on this show to bring you what you want to hear, all the questions that you want answered and the topics that you want brought up. So my first few questions go a little bit something like this. So which is the better class, class 1 or class 2? And if you think that they're both crap, you can tell me that too. But if you're going to tell me that, then you better come prepared and you better have done your homework. And you can tell me, who should we be taking? So if you do have some thoughts, you can drop those too. So yeah, for the next few minutes, as I say, even 15, 20 minutes, whatever, we'll kind of play around a little bit with some of that and see what y'all are thinking. Let's mix it up. So yeah, first off, as I say, if anyone's got an opinion on which draft class they preferred, I can certainly tell you how I feel. I feel that talent wise, the first draft was probably a little bit better. With guys like Daryl Jackson, just that huge body in the middle, obviously throwing in your Zachariah Branch rather, a Georgia, Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. So just if I feel like that was more, if you want to talk about star power, my first iteration was better. But as I say, that comes with the asterisk that I did not put that through the consensus picks. So, as I say, with that being said, and obviously the updates that came after the combine, I feel like in a lot of ways my second class was more multifaceted, and more complete as a result. I feel like you could potentially do more scheme wise, depending on obviously where they fit with the second class than you would with the first. I feel like the first, not a drawback, but I feel like the guys from the first class come in with a lot of their own skill sets, whereas the guys that I went for in the second are a bit more coachable. And that's kind of the ethos that I tried to do. But as I say, 5 picks, nothing. So even though the numbers were subject to change, I came out with 7 picks from each class. So as I say, I wanted to try and make sure that I was staying true to what I thought the Falcons' ethos would be. And yeah, we need some depth. We're going to have money coming into the free agency period. As I say, Kirk O'Chains is away now, so we're going to be moving on from that. But it's going to be interesting to see what we do free agency wise and draft wise, because I feel like, as I say, and as I've said many times, we have a lot of talent in a lot of places. It's just about shoring up on depth, filling the gaps, as it were, and taking it from there. So what I'll do is I'll take it to the hour, and then wind it down if there's no comments or sort of questions or suggestions or anything like that. But again, I would just appreciate anyone who has spent the last hour here with me. As I say, it's a labour of love to do these things. To do the solo shows was something that I was a little bit apprehensive about, given the fact that obviously I normally work with a network. So shout out to the guys from the Atlanta Falcons Nation and AFN International, our frequent flyers. You know who you are. My brother from another mother, Dynamo Des, from the Scottish Falcons show. Give us a subscribe on the SF Sports on YouTube, because that'll be coming up as well tomorrow night. Scottish Falcons episode 48, which will be your season 2 premiere. We've got a lot of good things coming, a lot more special guests to work with and to keep the takes fresh and all that good stuff. So we'll be talking more Dirty Birds tomorrow. So you'll have that to look forward to. Shout out to the boys from the Unholy Alliance, because as you all know, I've got a seat at that table too. I've got my finger in many pies, so to speak. So I'll shout out to the guys from over there. Again, you all know who you are, so I could be here all night shouting you out, but just know that you're loved and appreciated. And for all you fans as well, this is the reason that I do this. I appreciate all the love and the takes and the camaraderie in the family. Let's keep it 100. Let's call it what it is. The community here that I've been building for myself has been really quite special. It's something that I hope to continue to grow on as well. So what you're going to see going forward from this channel is, as I said in episode 1, a little bit of everything. So a little bit of music, a little bit of movie, media, books, poetry, impressions, voiceover, potentially some readings if you're into that kind of thing. I won't say ASMR, because don't even start me. We don't need to be triggered tonight. I have enough to worry about. And I appreciate the kind words there from Maggie. I think it was a good draft myself, and I'm trying to, as I say, it's a nightmare when your team does need so many things. But yeah, especially after the James Pearce Jr. situation, I was like, no, I need to get back online and get another mock draft made, and quickly. So but then again, it made for a better show, because you pay for one mock draft, you get 2 for the price of 1. So y'all can't say I'm not good to you. And not just mock drafts, you're also getting 2 shows for the price of 1 tonight. So I will be coming back basically in around about another hour's time to talk some combat sports with you. But we do have another question as well. With all the rumours with the QBs, who would you want to see them sign? That's a really good question, Nathan. We were having a little bit of a chat earlier on OG Sam's show. So again, shout out to the guys from the Alliance about the whole debate of Tua versus Kyler. And for me, that there isn't a win. That's a lose-lose situation. I don't. If you must choose one, I would go with Kyler. But if you're asking me who I would want to sign, I would. It's between 3 guys. If I'm going free agency, I'm either going for Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett, or Trey Lance. Trey Lance having the highest upside, being that he's youngest, But then if you want to talk about the experience side of things, it's got to be Joe Flacco. And again, Jacoby Brissett is a solid option too. He's always been consistent throughout his career at every stop he's made. So again, it's someone who we can maybe bring in as that bridge. So that's a few different options, but again, I've not had the chance to grab him in either of my iterations, which is something that stings just a little bit. But I like to create little narratives and play with things, and I know that in Georgia there is a huge amount of uh, onus put on keeping homegrown talent here in Georgia. So if we're talking about draft wise, I like Heinz King from Georgia Tech. I feel like he's in a lot of ways this probably the second most pro ready in the class after obviously Fernando Mendoza. So it's going to be again. It depends what you want. Do you want that experience as a bridge, or do you want to have a competition when Penix comes back? Because obviously watching that interview, I'm glad to hear that Penix is feeling strong, feeling like his prognosis is good, that he can get back in time for the season. But at the same time, I don't know if you guys use the expression in the States that we use here, famous last words. But to say, yeah, I'll be ready for camp and ready for week one, those are some famous last words if ever I've heard them, because a lot can go wrong between now and September. I tell you that much. So yeah, as I say, I just want to make sure I am all in on Mike Penix in so much as his ability to compete for the starting role. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he is the franchise option. He is the guy just yet. He has the potential to be, and I hope that he can. And obviously, if you've tuned into the Scottish Falcons show for any length of time, you'll have heard me and Des saying he has all the tools there to go on to be the guy. The injury worries, with especially the knee, all the way through college into his pro career as well. They don't make for great reading. Let's keep it 100 and tell it how it is. Um, but yeah, let him come back 100%. He's shown that he wants to do what's best for this team. He's shown that he's got an absolute cannon for an arm, and I don't want to invest so much in him, taking him so highly, to then just say your ship has sailed. What, a year and a half down the line, as we are. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I would maybe be looking at bringing in someone who's young enough to compete, and that's where I start to ask questions of guys like maybe perhaps a Mac Jones from San Francisco, and guys like that. So or maybe even a Cooper Rush from Dallas. I say if you want to get a younger guy, then there's going to be interesting things. As I say, it depends what you're willing to give up as well. And as I say, if we're looking at what I'm doing is doubling down on getting capital for this year and really building to try and compete, then as I say, then I would be looking more at free agency. And I'm just looking at this one here. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with Tua. I would feel that, yeah, you have the continuity of a left-handed QB, but what I would also say is that a lot of the guys also towards the tail end of last season were playing with Kirk as well. And most of the potential receivers that you're going to be having coming out of college or coming from another team, there's a good likelihood that they're going to have played with a right-handed quarterback. So I feel like it's going to be an easier transition than perhaps you would say that it would. But yeah, as I say, if you want to keep it nice, then yeah, Tua would be good as a bridge, but the concussions terrify me. He is one bad knock away from retirement, and I don't want to be the one to put him in that position. I am surprised if we're being 100% candid, that he is still in the league, because he has had his bell rung more than once. Um, and I feel sorry for him because he played some real fine ball at Alabama. And I feel like he's not really had a fair shake because of the injury history that he's had. But when it comes to the brain, trust me, from experience, I know, with the seizures and things like that. I've also had two concussions from my playing career as well. I was a receiver myself, so I know it's not pleasant. You have to build things back, um, and especially since I got really unwell, um, I can attest to how difficult that is to do. Never mind doing it at the pro level to get potentially lit up again. So that's kind of where I fall. That's where I fall off with Tua, Nathan. To be quite honest with you, but yeah, um, yeah, that's true as well. We do have a better O line, particularly when it's healthy. Uh, Miami don't really have that much of an offensive line to speak of. But again, what worries me is it just has to take the fact that what if Caleb's not 100%? What if you have Elijah Wilkinson in there again, who, with all due respect, this season just gone was a little bit of a turnstile at times. And I don't mean that in any derogatory way. But yeah, if we're going to be bringing in someone who needs the level of protection that Tagovailoa does, uh, yeah, I would be, unless I'm bringing in a right tackle and starting him right away. That's something that, again, I'm paranoid to do, or at least concerned to do. But yeah, Tua, again, it's arm wise, it's a fine option. But as I say, I just worry about his health. Yeah, I know you girls were saying on the show as well, Maggie. Shout out to the Lady Birds, as well. Those girls can know their ball, and they can go point for point with any man, and I will die on that hill. So if you want to fight me on that, you will lose. But yeah, when you're talking about Flacco, I mean, that would be a great pairing in so much as he came into the league in the same year that Matt Ryan did. I mean, those were the two guys that were competing for Rookie of the Year, that first season. So it's crazy to think that now here we are all these years later and we've got the potential to do that. But it just shows you again the wealth of experience that Joe Flacco would bring in. So he's kind of done his world tour of the AFC North. So if he wants to come and get down and dirty in the South with us, then I'm not going to tell him not to, for sure. Um, and yeah, I mean, as I say, with all that being said, it seems that the consensus does seem to be Flacco. But as we say, we're coming to that time now where people start to make some crazy decisions. If you're keeping an eye on the group chats and all that good stuff, then there's a million ways that teams are going to potentially go, and some of them are just out and out crazy. Some of the names that are getting cut right now might surprise you. So just keep an eye, because that QB market might get interesting. We just don't know. They say the NFL stands for not for long, so all we can do is watch and wait and see. So if has anyone got any more questions before I close things out? Because I do have another show to prep. So if you do enjoy some boxing, some mixed martial arts, or even some pro wrestling, that's what I'm going to be getting into next. So I have a little preparation, a little show prepared for you, just talking about the future of combat sports, or what that's going to look like. So yeah, as I say, it's going to involve these freak show fights, influencers, all the different exhibitions, people coming out of retirement, jumping from weight class to weight class. I'm going to try and dissect all of that for you, give you some of my thoughts. And obviously, as I do at the end of every show, pass it back to you, and see what the family thinks. But until then, what I will do is I will wind it down because, as I say, there is much work to do. But I do appreciate y'all so much again for taking the time to be with me tonight. Um, as I say, it means the world to me, and there is a lot more coming down the pipeline on all the channels that I mentioned earlier. If you do want to join me for any sports talk, then you can get a hold of me on social media. I am not on Instagram yet, but I will be getting back on there soon. But at the moment, I'm on X. I'm also on Facebook at Wad-l, William Wad-l on Facebook, or you can also join the new public group which is called what is it again? DSF Sports, Scottish Falcons Fans and Family. So there is now a public group on Facebook as well, where you can drop some of your topic ideas, have some chats with the frequent flyers, and just really continue to grow this family that we've been working so hard to build. So as I say, I will see you all very soon. And if you've enjoyed this real and unfiltered talk, then be sure to catch the next one. And until then, I bid you adieu. Peace.